And alrighty everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be covering the third night of the hunt, Stage 4 Crustacean Crisis. So we'll go ahead and get right on in. We can take a look at some of the ranks here. So 400 is feasible. Again, mostly this is dependent on how built up your Timeless Aeona is. The strategy for this is the exact same that it was in the previous hunt. So we'll go through and talk about more of the specific components of that, some of the teams and such, and we'll start off with the seals. So there's new seals on it, Forbidden Right, and this is a seal that was the same as last time. I'm pretty sure these two were the same, but these two were the same. Stellar Geometry is a new one. I went and I tried every single one of them to see whether or not I could get different teams working or different comps working, different rotations. It's all still the same. So what was different is this one, Shining Moon. When a full moon vassal uses their ultimate, all allies gain all damage up minor for 10 seconds. So this one is decent. It is not as consistent as the Rising Moon, just because crit rate up and crit damage up has the potential for scaling higher. So the more times you repeat it, Rising Moon is going to have a potential higher cap, while Shining Moon is a good, just if you, for a first attempt, you could try Shining Moon and then Rising Moon if you want to, if you have the time to attempt it multiple times to get that RNG. So that's pretty much the two seals that you want. Forbidden Right, the Blood Soul Recovery on Sorcerers and Enchanters, very important for the teams. So again, this was another latecomer one where I discovered it when we were testing it within my clan. Pretty much you'll see things like relying on Chrono to start off the rotation higher, which is interesting. I had one of those in my guidebook, but I removed it just because it was inconsistent as far as having damage over time. It's a little bit better to have like a different character for that. But then we have other teams, they're running Lamia. Let's see what else here. Let's see, Serene. Yep, so that's kind of going to be the main teams, is going to be the same 4 characters, and then it's going to have a flex pick depending on your strategy. Here is everything right here. So these are the 2 main teams. These are the 2 teams that ranked the highest. Last time is probably like 90% of people were using this one, just because I tested this comp late in the game and I only shared it with my clan and with unlisted videos for people who DM'd me. It was all up in the guidebook so people could reference it at any time. I just didn't have a video for it, was all. So here's the 2 seals. The position, again, these 2 teams are exactly the same. The ult order is exactly the same. So on it, the reason why we're doing the Forbidden Right is because of the Blood Soul Recovery on Sorcerers and Enchanters. So we're actually adding Lamia in here just because Lamia is able to output a little bit of damage. I tested every single sorcerer, every single enchanter to see which one is the best one. If we look down here, I'll scroll down a little bit. So any enchanter or sorcerer except Limine and Amy. Amy because it interrupts the Timeless Aeona and Van Helsing ult, and it's very, very difficult to get a good rotation on this, especially since enemies are spawning in every direction. Van Helsing has an unlimited ult basically going on this, so it was very difficult to run Amy. Limine as well because she replaces one of the picks. So if you have a sorcerer is Limine and it's missing half the time because of the way the enemies are spawning and instantly getting killed, it was not very good. I chose Lamia specifically because she has a slightly higher damage output than most of the other sorcerers, and so while the other sorcerers were doing like 1 to 2%, Lamia was consistently hitting 4 to 5%. The relics that you have for them is going to be the same types that you would normally have. So I have Truth if you're running Serene. If not, then for my Lamia, I just ran a crit because they aren't really getting debuffed very often. And then for Acapella and Fleeting Bella, it didn't really matter as much because Timeless Aeona is not taking any damage, and so she'll always have her shield to have the 2 times uptime on it. If you give Akka healing artifact, she's able to top up Fleeting Bella a little bit faster, and so Fleeting Bella will be able to get more of her basic attacks off. Again, that just increases the damage by 1%. So between them, it's very, very low damage. The rotation for this, again, this is based off of a level 10 Akka ult. It does work with a level 9, and then to a degree, the level 8 is just slightly off by 1 second in the second rotation. So it works fairly well just because you have the increased Blood Soul Recovery on it. I also tested it before. I didn't have good gear, and I still don't have a level 5 Eyeglass of Truth. So for me, it was better to use my Fleeting Bella ult into my Van every single rotation. I was able to get a higher damage output that way for my account. But now that my Timeless Aeona is more built up, it's actually better for me to ult into Timeless Aeona rather than Van Helsing. So test it on your account and see which one does better. Just note that it might be better to do it one or the other. Anytime it says Lamia here in the rotation, you just replace it with Serene. It works pretty much the same. If you don't have either of those two characters, then you could do another flex pick, which is basically any other enchanter or sorcerer. It doesn't really matter for this one. Or if you have Chrono 5, you could put down a character that will do summons to have a faster start, and you'll just have to offset the rotation based off of that. You'll lose the additional blood soul recovery over time, so I need to do further testing because I did test with Noah with this. Unfortunately, Master of Puppets only affects the summons. It doesn't affect the summoner itself, or it doesn't affect the team. So if it did affect the team or affected the summoner as well, then maybe Noah might be a good contender. Here's the loadout, Van Helsing and Timeless Aeona in the two corners. That helps them to maximize damage because the further away they are from enemies, especially Van Helsing, the better. Van Helsing, unfortunately, after he gets his ult off, then he'll run up into the middle area and he'll just stay in the middle area, so his damage output actually can drop or lower depending on enemy placements and how quickly they spawn. And so you could kind of like that when you gain a big bonus to your hunt amount, it's likely that's one of the reasons. The other reason is the crit RNG on this. Looking at the ult order, again, this is going to be the same ult order that was in the guidebook: Timeless Aeona, Acapella, and then you wait, and then you'll start your rotation with Fleeting Bella, and then Timeless Aeona again. That's basically so you have them in sync as they are doing their ult rotation. I could turn on auto if I wanted to, just for the first two, so that way it's the fastest, and then we'll continue the rotation from there. Alright, so now I'll turn it off, and then I'm just going to wait until I am at my 9 blood ult. Okay. And it's important that you get Timeless Aeona before she moves forward, because then she's able to do better damage that way. Alright, I'm going to wait for Van to be up. Van, then it's going to be Aka Lamia. And you want to try to get Lamia within the first. Sometimes there's no enemies within range and it doesn't work very well. Then we're just going to repeat the rotation. It's going to be the same rotation pretty much. And then we're just going to wait. Right, that was the second rotation. Now we're just going to wait for Timeless Aeona at 8. Alright, and we're going to wait for one more rotation. We're going to do Fleeting Bella, Timeless Aeona. Okay, one more Lamia. 38 seconds left, and we're at 220, so we're doing pretty good. Again, I usually aim at the upper left-hand corner because that tends to do better for me. Gonna be our final rotation here. Alright, and we'll see what we end up in this final 10 seconds. Alright. Not bad. 347 is close to my max. Again, a lot of it is just RNG. If you take a look at it, Timeless Aeona is doing the bulk of it. Van Helsing is doing a fair chunk. If you look at my Lamia, she only did 1% this time. When I was ulting Van, she was able to do a little bit more because there was a little bit less instant kill between the characters. And so, but that's kind of how the rotation works. Again, you could play with it on your own test to see how ulting Van or ulting Timeless Aeona does for you. Then you could also try using Serene instead of Lamia as well. So we'll go ahead and end the video there. Good luck to everybody. Ping me with your high scores, and I'll see you all in the next one.